Hello friends, I hope this finds you well. My name's Chris Thrall, I'm a former Royal Marines Commando. Just going to say here and now, we've got a bit of feedback, Tim, so I don't know where that's coming from you somewhere, I think. Guys, thank you for tuning in. If you can let us know if we're all loud and clear in the comments. As I said, I'm Chris Thrall, former Royal Marine. I run the Bought the T-Shirt podcast, or I host the Bought the T-Shirt podcast. We have got a fantastic live chat for you all this evening. But first, a bit about me this evening. Morning team, I hope you can hear me. We are down here at the sensational Lido pool. Yeah, so official kind of kick-off thingy-me-bob, whatever, at 10. I just want to get in the water for the minute and start getting some distance done. I've got David Goggins' book to listen to on my underwater headphones, so as David Goggins says, you can't hurt me. Today is a good day. I'm doing a quadruple Ironman distance triathlon, so that's a 9.6 mile swim which has been done, and I'm halfway through a 450 mile cycle ride. On Saturday, which is the day after tomorrow, I will drive up to Nottingham for a 100 mile foot race. Hope to, I'll finish that in under 24 hours. As I'm always saying, some of our veterans are going through a lot worse challenges, and that those people that know me know I've been through them myself, so I'm not going to be complaining. I'm just going to be getting this job done. The house won't paint itself. That means you got to start running. I decided 2 months ago I'd do a 100-mile run. Why not tag a 10-mile swim and a 450-mile bike ride to it and make it a quadruple Ironman, right? So I've had 2 months to train, and I'm not excessively fit, and I'm not superhuman. It's not because I'm a superman, but if you go on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Chris Thrall, I talk about the life rules that I've built up by, rather than avoiding and shunning adversity, I've embraced it over the years, and I've turned every negative into a positive. And as I always say, you get one life, and if you live it right, one is enough. Okay, thank you for sticking with us, folks, and watching a bit about me. Now we're going to talk about our guest. I'm very honoured this evening. In fact, I've been looking forward to this all day, because Tim Davies is a former squadron leader with the RAF. He flew Tornado bombers, but not only that, he runs the YouTube channel Fast Jet Performance. There's a link for it below if you guys want to go and join Tim's channel if you haven't already. But but not only that, Tim has to be one of the nicest men I've ever met. He's got his wears his heart on his sleeve like I do. He just wants his best for our young people. And I don't know about you, but with everything that's going on at the moment, and we're not going to say the words because we all know where that ends us up, but you all know what I'm referring to. It's really important to have people like Tim in your life that you can sit down and just chat with. And if there's something Tim knows that I don't, he can explain to me and I will listen, and vice versa, rather than using the the CT word, I don't mean my initials, and just blanking somebody, which seems to be the case when you chat with unenlightened people, isn't it? So for that, I'm truly grateful. But before I let Tim speak, we're going to have a look at his intro. My gosh, you don't really get a better calling card than that, do you? Not if you want to kiss the girls, put it that way, or the boys, you know. Kiss anybody. Just make sure they're over 18 or you'll be joining Prince Andrew.
Yeah, my wife don't let me do it anymore, Chris.
Tim, how are you, mate? Can you hear us, Tim?
Not too bad. Have we got an audio snag? Are we okay?
I think we're okay.
I can hear you.
Yeah, there'll be a delay. There'll be a delay on the YouTube video, if you get what I mean. This is why it's important to have the volume turned off on the YouTube video. Is that making sense?
Yeah, I'm just sorting that out now.
I think we're going to be okay, but if I hear feedback back, I will tell you. It seems okay, Tim, at the minute. I think we're all okay. I wouldn't worry.
There's a lot of lag, Chris. That's the problem.
Right.
Let me just try and sort it out my end with the preferences here, and I'm just going to basically switch everything off.
Are you sure it's lag on YouTube? I'm not hearing any lag, mate, on our Zoom call. And
okay, stand by them.
The Zoom call is only the only important thing, right? Don't worry about the rest of it. Just can you give me a 1, 2, 3 right now? 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. I think I know what it is. Let me just sort out this. I'm literally going to. Here's the thing I've got to do. I've got to turn the volume off my Zoom.
No, I would leave the volume on the Zoom, Tim. Leave that on.
Yeah, and get rid of YouTube. Hold on.
Get rid of YouTube. Otherwise, we're going to lose everybody. That's it, friends. This is it's normally a bootneck trying to take care of the technology and screwing it up. I'm handing over.
Give me 30 seconds.
Yeah, you're absolutely fine, Tim. Honestly, you're coming through fine.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, that's better. Everything else is gone. So yeah, basically what I did there just messed up the tech at the start of your live stream. So no. I'll take responsibility for that.
Well, I should say thank you very much to Brooke Benson. Brooke's there in the chat, taking charge for me. Thank you, Brooke.
Good man. Yeah, cheers, Brooke.
Along with Tony66. Hiya, Tony. Brooke very kindly spent another hour with me today just preparing all of this because it's so easy. The technology's going so fast now to just get left behind. There's always glitches. And last week it was something as simple as just turning my my OBS studio on and off. That was all it was. We had this buzzing like a mosquito. We turned it off. Mute YouTube, keep Zoom open. Yeah. That's Brooke, my tech man.
That basically, if that doesn't start the first time, you turn it off and on again. That's the truth. The tornado there. That's exactly what you do. You shut everything down, you leave the batteries off for 3 minutes, and you start up again. Same with that one at the bottom.
And you
Honestly.
give it a good bang like the old TV sets.
Oh, yeah. Engineers would hit that on the side with the chocks. They'd hit the chocks on the side of the jet like that.
You can't hit TVs anymore. They're too fragile and they're too expensive.
Yeah, you get locked up for something when they make up a charge, I'm sure.
Yes.
It'd be something, wouldn't it?
So, friends at home, welcome. Thanks for joining us. What we're going to do in a minute, we're going to try and go to video and we're going to have a look at the new Top Gun trailers. We've got 2 trailers. One is just the trailer. It's on Creative Commons, so we shouldn't get into trouble with copyright. And I've also got a sort of behind the scenes, slightly longer director's cut that might be good to get Tim's views on. So, but before that, how's your YouTube journey going, Tim?
Yeah, it's all right, actually. I quite like the crowd. I don't get any negative comments. I mean, I had one, and then I kind of responded to the dude and said, oh, why was it? Oh, yeah, I did one of this kind of game, which is a bit of a cartoon game with flying, Chris. It's called VTOL VR. And someone wrote in and said, I prefer the DCS ones, which is Digital Combat Sim. And I'm like, okay. It's like Ricky Gervais says, isn't it, about guitar lessons? You know, he goes up to something on the board offering guitar lessons and he takes one off and he goes, I don't want guitar lessons. It's like, walk on by. There's a whole other load of videos out there. But I did one about, I'm going to say, social justice on your channel. And I did one about the wokeness that we're currently... and it was to do, Chris, with a fighter pilot in the Royal Air Force who had written something in his signature block that offended someone else. Remember, you take offence, don't you? You don't necessarily give it. And this guy had taken offence and he'd written in with an anonymous form and blamed the fighter pilot for it. The problem with fighter pilots is they look for fights because the clue's in the name. So I did one on that, and that was quite popular. Not with the Royal Air Force, of course. I'm right, Chris. The issue I've got with the Air Force today is next week is their diversity and inclusion week, and you would not believe the stuff they're discussing. On Wednesday, we can talk about white privilege. They're honestly having a session on white privilege on Wednesday. I mean, if you want to divide the service, talk about white privilege and tell every white person they're not good enough and every black person they're a victim. So to me, it's horrific to be dragging that in. Talk about privilege. That's understandable, but don't label it because it becomes racist then. There's not more racist term than white privilege to me. So it's good. I'm going to discuss that as well on my YouTube channel at some point. That should be fun. And to be honest, Chris, I don't know how you got on, mate, but whenever I discuss these things, I get demonetized. YouTube, it demonetizes my videos.
Yes, that's the thing. I'm getting a lot of videos demonetized. That's why, friends, if you can support my Patreon, £2 a month.
Oh, that's what I say. Yeah.
I'm going to be putting some more levels on the Patreon so we can sort out the live coaching. We can get a team chat going on for people that want to have a say or at least give their contribution as to how the channel should go into the future and what sort of guests and what sort of content we should be looking at. So that's all going to be on the Patreon. We're also going to have memberships on YouTube, which I've been trying to sort out for about 4 months now. But just, Tim, how do you find your busyness?
Well, yeah. I mean, someone asked me to be an MP this morning, which is fantastic, of course. But I'm like, yeah, I'll fit that in on a Monday morning. The truth is, when you do these videos, Chris, as you know, it takes up a lot of time. I mean, my editing alone on the DCS videos, the process to make a 30-minute DCS video easily takes about 5 hours. When you put the top and tail on it, you put it into editing program, you do the audio because you want to put out a quality product. But I have workflows now, just as I did when I flew these aircraft, and I just stick to the routine. Regimented stick to these routines, and I've got some great supporters who literally offer me advice. They've literally helped me out, with so much about how to get the virtual reality working and all this sort of thing, or about audio levels or why things don't work or lighting. They literally write in the comments and I write back saying, that's amazing, thank you. So I'm quite lucky. I don't really have haters, I suppose, which is strange, seeing as the left are full of hate. I just read down here, Chris, I want to be fair to you, mate. Someone said, there goes the peaceful village. Are we not talking about this sort of stuff in your channel anymore?
Have
I missed something?
1 second. No. All I don't talk about is the thing at the minute, Tim, because it's just against YouTube's rules, and that's fine. That's YouTube. So everyone knows what's going on at the moment. We don't need to say the words, right?
All right. The three words we don't say anymore.
Yeah,
Those three words.
Just
oh, fine.
You know,
I didn't realise it was against that. Is it really against that? Is it? I didn't realise.
Well,
we're censoring speech now. Is that what we're doing?
Well, I'll give you it's not so much the speech. It's just that obviously everybody's got a different take on what's going on.
Yeah. YouTube
are obviously under they come under pressure. I'm going to say it's probably from like an advertising conglomerate, right?
Yeah, fair enough.
That represents the views of the big business, and we all know, we know what they're about. And so if big business says to YouTube, we don't want people giving an alternative narrative on this subject, YouTube have to comply because they can't afford to lose their act. But it's
how do we get here?
Yeah, but going back to what you're saying about the RAF dividing itself, it's for people listening. This is why I'm talking a lot at the moment about the Babylonian money mafia. You see, once you understand the evil money system that controls us all, then you understand why the people behind it. It's the people behind the monetary system that have a vested interest in getting the RAF to have infighting and difference and squabbles, having the other services then jump on and attack the RAF, having the civilian population then all dividing themselves over this issue. And remember, that's one issue in the RAF. There's
one small issue.
Millions of other issues going on, millions of other narratives as we speak in life going on, and everybody is arguing over them, right? This is how the money mafia work. Meanwhile, they're pulling all the strings. They're still lending out their bits of paper with, 5s, 10s and 20s written on, 50s or 100 if you're lucky. They're still charging interest that they make up as they go along. They don't have any gold in their bank to back up. And this is how they control it. They control it all. I've been talking a lot about it lately, Tim, because it's so easy to talk about lefties and right and social justice warrior, and that's fine. But what that does is keeps everybody at the lower echelon. It's called,
I agree.
In spiritual society, it's called the third degree, whereas you and I, we operate in the third dimension. We operate in the fourth dimension because we're enlightened. But to get to that fifth, you can't. It's important we don't cling on to the old references and the old ways of being, right? I hope this is making sense. So say, for example, you've got a public speaker and they've got a big social media influence and they're clearly enlightened because they hate the system and they realise what the system has maybe done to them personally, like we all do. But rather than preaching love, kindness, empathy, understanding, gratitude, all the things you need to live in the fifth dimension, which is utter balance and harmony, the mistake they make is they use all the mechanisms of the third dimension still. So they'll be talking about woke people and this and that, and it's like, whoa, dude, all you're doing is cementing the people into that narrative. You've got. So anyway,
it's distraction. It's subversion, actually, is what it is, Chris. It's the country is being subverted, and it takes about 20 years to subvert a country, and the country has to be willing to be subverted as well. That's the truth. It's very easy to subvert a country if we allow other material from other countries in, and then we read it. So that's the problem, unfortunately.
This Babylonian money mafia, people have heard me talk a lot lately, Tim, because I've just read this excellent book. There we go.
Okay.
The Babylonian Woe.
Okay. I've not read that.
I'll try and remember to put a link below. A good friend of mine, Mike McCarthy, who really understands what's going on way more than I do. This guy is just really on the ball. He pointed me to that book, and it's really opened my eyes up to the fact that these money magicians, as they're referred to, go back to the times of ancient Babylon, when they first learned how to corrupt society by infiltrating the temples, the palaces, the churches.
That's right. Yeah. Well, Jesus threw the moneylenders out of the temple, didn't he?
Exactly.
And you think, why did he throw them out of the temple? Well, if you read about it, you understand it. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. You are enlightening people, Chris. You know this, don't you?
Well, I'm trying to do my best, because there's never been a more serious time in my life, Tim. It's that simple, right? What we're going through now is way, way, way more serious for me than getting shot at countless times in Northern Ireland, you know. This is about my family. It's about my son. It's about the fact that the narrative that's going on, it's just awful. And again, I'm not going to talk about it, but some of the stuff that's going on in the schools, Tim, it makes you want to fricking cry.
I'll be reading about it. Yeah,
you know,
what they're teaching.
And what did Jesus say when he was up there on the cross? He said, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." And that's in the Bible for a reason. That is 98.5% of society, even if they're, like I say, in the fourth dimension, so they're enlightened, are still buying in to false science and false narratives. And it's, you know, I would... But, you know, Sorry, mate. Go on. I know I'm talking a lot, folks.
No, it's fine. It's just, we can calm it, though. I mean, I think that's the thing, Chris. You know, when you have people, and you talk to a lot of people, I listen to Douglas Murray, people like that, we can calm all this with sensible voices. I get called a racist a lot. And one of the things, it's like, I say I'm a nationalist, but then people say, oh, you're part of the BNP. And I'm like, no, they use their word also. But I can be proud of my country. Don't get me wrong. And I am. You know, I think we're very tolerant as a country. And the problem is, unfortunately, we've got state actors in the country, or people who are celebrities and should know better, that are very active in pushing a very negative themes through. That's dividing us. You know, we weren't intolerant of any race. You know, 13% of the country is ethnic minority. I hate the term BAME as well. The problem is, and I don't want to get into it too much, Chris, but you know, I think the left are inherently racist with everything they do, and they're trying to cover it up. It's not intentionally racist. It's an unconscious bias mostly. But by calling people BAME, is you take all these different people who are individuals, and I hate individuals, don't they? They have to put them all in boxes and collectives, the left. But then you don't let them be a Singaporean or an African or Pakistani or a Muslim. You can't let them do that. No, you've got to put them in something called a BAME box, and you call them BAME. So you've got white people, and then you've got everyone else, and you call them BAME. What's more racist than that, Chris? That is inherently racist. That's what I don't understand about it. And so we have to, unfortunately, do we tolerate that? And we say, well, we're allowing the country to be fragmented on ethnic lines. But we don't do that, Chris, because we're British and we're the most tolerant nation on earth. And all of a sudden, we've got people trying to make us the least tolerant nation on earth. And we always follow America as well, don't we? We're 5 years behind America. And if you read Douglas Murray's stuff, he wrote The Madness of Crowds, I'm reading now, very interesting book. He says that America is now ripe for civil war. Isn't that incredible?
Yeah, again, to friends at home, remember what I'm saying. The Babylonian money mafia divide and control. They fragment, they destroy identities. They're putting everybody into the home cocoon, so you don't no longer talk to your neighbour. Your food's going to be brought in by Zone or delivered to the front door because you've ordered it from Asda or Tesco over the internet. Right? You lose that face-to-face vital contact. Just look at people when you walk down the street now. They don't look at you and go, "Morning," like we used to. They put their head down, pretend they're on their phone or pretend they're looking at, because their self-confidence has been destroyed.
Masks.
The interaction. People are no longer taught to stand up, smile, look you in the eye, shake your hand, introduce themselves. All of it's gone out the window. The whole nationalist sort of situation is interesting as well, because and Graham Moore, Daddy Dragon, talks wonderfly about this. By England having its constitution run roughshod over by the UK, which is like a European kind of construct. We've lost all our English person's rights, and we actually have a constitution in the UK. We actually have the right to bear arms, believe it or not. And what I'm saying is, it's all to destroy our identity as Englishmen and women. This massive influx of illegal immigration that we're seeing, right? And this is nothing to do with racism. This is going back to what I'm saying. Get loads of different ethnicities in the country, loads of different values, different culture, different upbringings. And what are you doing? You're dividing a society. You're bringing it to its knees. You're introducing a factor that just doesn't fit with the equation, and then hence crime rates will go up because there isn't the provision for everybody. And if you look at countries like Sweden and see what's happening over there, they've got ghettos, they've got no-go areas, they've got the highest rape statistics now, I believe, in the world, right? Or it's certainly in Europe. And this is what the money mafia do. They just seek to destroy. And while we all focus on the peripheral stuff that's insignificant, because at the end of the day, human beings love and respect each other. We're all one tribe. We all get on. You go to any country in the world, you crack on with the people there. They don't turn around and go, you're English, I don't like you. Well, yeah, even in Argentina, I've been in Argentina and welcome with open arms. They give you the old double kiss over there. That's human beings. So, getting off topic we're getting off the topic of you, Tim. But it's once you see and understand what's happening, it's like you can step out of the matrix, but then you've got to understand how the matrix works. Not sure if this is making sense, but
yeah, you've got to understand how it works. And I think that's the problem, that people are not enlightened into what's going on in the background, because no one's interested in the 64 different genders. I don't care what gender you want to call yourself. It's a really dull topic to talk about. Like, I find it all dull. And also, why bother talking about gender? I mean, and I'll just say young people right now, because I think they've gone through a very left-wing education system. He's run away. See, that's what I do when I talk to people.
Harry?
You know what I mean? He's gone. He's like, right. So anyway, this is now the Tim Davies podcast. Welcome back to I'll be called Tim Thrall. There we go. And what we're going to talk about today is he gone? He hasn't lost his signal, has he? Yeah, he's gone. Right. So what should we talk about? Talk about anything, can we? Just talk about Chris. We talk about Chris. I think he's gone to his door. I think what Chris was trying to say is we shouldn't be so distracted by what's going on with all this kind of stuff, and we should actually concentrate on leading purposeful lives. I think that's probably the best thing, isn't it? Right. What should we talk about then? What's on here? I'm looking at my phone now. Yeah, he's got people kidnapping him. Right. What he wants to talk about, I think, on this is the Top Gun trailer, and I purposely haven't watched it because I didn't think I'd watch it first off. I think there's another one that's come out. I think that's what he's going to play in a second. I can't play it, guys, because I haven't got the thing that he's going to play through his channel, have I? So I can't do it. Right, ask me some questions. Here we go. You back, Chris? Don't tell him what we said, people, all right? Don't tell him what we talked about. And that's why Chris is such a great guy, everyone. So he's a special man. Oh, Chris, you're back. Sorry, dude, I didn't see you there. You're all right.
What have you been saying about me?
Oh, you do not want to know. You should have seen what people are writing, Chris, about you down here. I was like, oh, no, don't write about him. That's not him. He's not that man. He's a different guy. That's different to the Chris I know about. Brilliant. Yeah, seamless. Yeah, yes. Thank you.
No, I like it. I love having someone take over the show. It's good.
I was naked.
Yeah, we had someone absent without leaves. That's why I just had to go and check. But yes, interesting times. Interesting times. And you can
get distracted by it, Chris.
No, you can't. You can't lose the love. You can't turn to the booze. All of those things. They turn you incredibly negative, don't they?
Well, your brain gets full up of negativity, doesn't it? That's the problem. And then it's very interesting actually, because I'm very much into language and I'm very careful what I say. So on Twitter, you know, if someone puts something on Twitter about how this current young generation are being destroyed because they're going to university but they can't party and everything, and they had to finish their exams early, and they said we need to do stuff for them, very young people, you know, they're young, this young generation have never had it so bad. And so it's very easy then, isn't it, to put a picture of the landing crafts going onto the Normandy beaches up against that one. I mean, every generation has trouble, it really does, but that's me sort of joking aside. But I do think this is just one of those life's events, isn't it, that we all have to go through, and we're all at different stages in it, and how we deal with it really is down to us, isn't it? It's a hard one.
Yes, and you make a good point there. If it's,
So have I got attacked in your chat?
Say again, you.
I was looking at your chat to see whether I've got attacked.
No. I've some very great subscribers, but also my live chats are just full of all my regulars, and they you know, they're good old people, and if they're not, Brooke and Tony will take care of it. I don't.
Yeah, well, I need to do more live chats myself actually, but I just tend to sit there and chatting to myself. And that can be quite dull, isn't it?
Well,
I was going to get... Well, I'll ask your opinion on this, Chris. I was going to ask Jim Davidson to come on. Remember Jim Davidson back in the day? Comedian?
Yeah.
Remember him? My dad was a big fan back in the day. That was a man that was cancelled, wasn't it? Back in the day, when people were telling jokes about race and about sex, Jim was one of those people. You know, he never charged ever to speak to the military. And he got really angry when he learned how much the Spice Girls were charging to go out to one of these concerts, and Jim was charging nothing. He's never charged to do one of these things in front of the military. Military love him, of course. He's a true patriot, isn't he? And he does go a bit far sometimes, Jim. But back then, everyone did, didn't they? And they cancelled him for these jokes he used to make back in the day. But he's got his own website now, and he's got his own, you know, little. He was on YouTube. I think he got chucked off. So now he's got his own website where he's doing a bit of, you know, Jim Davies from TV. And I thought I might ask him to come on my podcast and have a chat. He could come on yours, couldn't he?
Yeah, see how you get on. I did invite him. What I will say is, and this is not a reference to Jim Davison, but you can say the same for anybody in the public eye of that kind of, let me just say era, for probably want of a better word. Again though, they're very much sustaining the narrative. I'm not saying that everyone. I'm not saying. I'm not. Like I said, I'm not talking about Jim Davies now. I'm saying it becomes awkward when you see someone in the media arguing over a current affair, and yet the two sides of the argument don't even understand that if you knew the science, this isn't even an argument, this is a distraction.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, you're right. And, I was going to talk about this Diversity and Inclusion Day, with the Air Force on my own channel, and I want to kind of bring that in. I'm quite interested in what you mean by that, and how you talk about those sort of subconscious layers almost, because it's very easy to challenge this, isn't it, and say, come on, you know, in the military, you employ people that are of reasonable intellect. I think you've given them this Diversity and Inclusion Day, where you talk to them about their white privilege is patronising and condescending. But then, what am I doing? I'm doing exactly the same thing, Chris, aren't I? I'm talking about the same narratives that are keeping us divided. You know, I think diversity and inclusion, the way it's being done at the moment, is dividing people, and it takes people like us and your group here to talk about these things and say, hang on, you know, this is wrong.
The problem is, Tim, we've all been conditioned from birth into these narratives, which is why it's so hard for people to relinquish them. They think in these linear lines, and what they actually are the bars of a jail cell, right? It's like, give a silly example. You know, let's just say, I don't know, next week they allow 10-year-olds to drive cars, and a 10-year-old driving his dad's Lamborghini plows through two people on a zebra crossing and knocks them dead, right? The way society is, this big argument comes in about should Lamborghinis go at 180 mile an hour? Should we allow old people across zebra? The observer who understands the holistic situation is sat back going, no, dudes, it's like, should we allow 10-year-olds into Lamborghinis? That's the, it's not.
Yeah, I get that.
Or it's
look for the obvious.
Or it's a bit like, I'm trying to think of a better example.
What, a current example?
Well, I'm trying to think of one that involves science.
Well, you could talk gender, couldn't you? You could talk about gender if you want to talk about science.
Oh.
You could talk about XY chromosomes, couldn't you? And having XX is to fight XY in the MMA. So, a man gets a sex change into a woman and then they're allowed to compete in contact sports.
Yeah, that's a good one. And that is slightly different, though, because the one side in that argument generally tends to understand that what you're born as biologically, you are for life, no matter what the media and the newspapers want, however they want to spin it.
It doesn't, Chris. It doesn't. That's the whole point with JK. That's the whole point with JK Rowling. It doesn't understand that. What JK Rowling is trying to say is, look, you're a man or you're a woman by your chromosomes, and if you change sex, whatever, that's fine. You can call yourself a fish if you wanted. It doesn't matter. There's 64 different genders. There'll be another one made up by the time we finish this conversation, by the way. It will be, it doesn't matter what gender is. If you want to go through them, LGBTQ plus, which is lesbian, bi, gay, transsexual, and the plus bit is QIA PPK. So queer, intersectional, asexual, I'm going to get this wrong in a minute, pansexual. There's another P, PPK, and then kink is the last one. So you can add another thing on. But when they run out of letters in the alphabet, what do they have to do? They have to start using the Russian alphabet, aren't they? And that's the problem. It's like, how far do you want to go? It's like, I don't care what you call yourself. Don't get me wrong. But I do care when you walk into a bathroom that say, I haven't got kids, but I've had a kid in a bathroom, I'm in a men's room, and you walk in there and you, well, for me, I'm a man, I don't mind. But if my wife was in a bathroom, I've gone through this. I run a rowing club. And we had a big problem where we were some people wanted to change the bathroom into one of these bathrooms where both sexes can use them. You know what I mean? And of course, the women were like, hang on a second, I don't really want that. If a man's had a sex change and come into the same bathroom as me, and it's, can we calm it down and have a conversation about it? Mm. So that is where, there is, I think that, that science in the background, which J.K. Rowling is trying to use. And that's where she's being attacked by the trans community. And relentlessly by the trans community, and I think it's pretty sad, really. Yeah,
and we got, and I bring it back again to the money magicians. We need to rise above these petty arguments that are purposely constructed to divide us and cause hatred in society, and realise who is it that funds all these ideas to divide and control us. I can't think of an example, but let's just say, imagine if there was something the whole world had to do in order to protect, say, a vulnerable group in society.
Yeah.
And imagine if you knew what they were doing was so there's no science behind it. That's not how it works. And yet the whole world, bar a few people like me who stand up for their rights, the whole world were doing it. But you had to sit there watching them all, and you're like, oh my God, not one of you's bothered to even research the reason.
That's true.
The reason behind your all do. This is. I hope somebody watching this understands what I'm trying to say. I'm not going to just say it, but it's imagine if the whole world was shoving a dead trout under their pillow so that they didn't get cancer, right? And imagine if
that works, by the way.
Yeah. Imagine if you were in the 0.025% that knew that was absolute nonsense. That the science just doesn't work out, right? This is this is how powerful this system of control is. This is how powerful it is. Yes, I'm not sure if I'm making sense.
Yeah, no, you are. Look, it's something I just thought of there was this is the default communist narrative from about 1970, where if you tell a story enough times, eventually it will become believed. And also it goes into name calling as well. Have you noticed how the left name call a lot? So I get into arguments. I don't get into arguments because I'm 46 years old. I don't argue anymore, but I do try and say, look, I understand what you're saying, but here's why I think that you're probably a bit misled. I'm quite gentle with it. You have to be on Twitter. You get ripped apart, don't you? But I never have been ripped apart, and I've said some pretty strong things on Twitter. I mean, you don't know who's on Twitter. It could be a mentally ill person, so you have to tread a bit lightly. But what will happen is I can very much see whether I'm going to be able to converse with a person if I push them just a little bit and they don't call me a name back. They don't say I'm a fascist or a racist, or they do say sometimes, oh, here comes the white army man. And I say, well, okay, it's all right to call someone white, isn't it? But I couldn't say, oh, here comes the black army man. That wouldn't work for you, would it? But you can insult me because I'm a 46-year-old straight white guy. I'm not going to really be offended, and I'm not an ethnic minority, so I'm an easy target to have, and I allow you to do that, by the way. But if they start name calling, I say, look, stop name calling. We haven't got that far. You don't need to, and let's have a chat. And if they go, no, you're just a twat, Tim, I'm like, well, where do we go from here now? It's because they've lost the argument. They've run out of ammunition for their political argument. So the only thing left they can do is call you a name. I think Thatcher said the same thing, to be honest. I've been reading a lot of Thatcher lately. God, that's what's pushed me into the Thatcher. Margaret is my mentor at the moment. Crikey. It's gone down that line. But she did say a lot of good things. The one thing I was going to sort of talk about, Netflix have got a film out called Cuties, and I've watched a bit of it. I haven't watched the whole thing. I'm not going to completely comment on it. But this is young girls. I don't know if you've seen this, Chris, have you?
Oh.
Have you seen this? This young girls. And here's the thing about it. I'm not going to rant because I'm a calm man now, and I wear a blood pressure monitor in the morning, and I've got 120/80, so I'm not going back to where I used to be. But Chris, the key here is if you've got an 8-year-old daughter and you don't put her on that stage, you say, no, I'm not going to put you on the stage. You shouldn't watch that film. You see what I mean? You shouldn't watch the film. It's like, this is someone else's young kid dancing on a stage from what I've seen. You know what I mean? I've only seen a bit of it. How did that ever get on Netflix? Since when was it acceptable to put young people like that on camera? It's someone else's daughter, we're watching dancing around on stage, quite provocatively, actually. And I think it actually says in the narrative, one of these young girls exposes her breast. I haven't seen that bit. I didn't really want to watch the whole thing. My wife got really angry at it. So I was like, okay, I'll try and watch it without you because I don't want to see that. But if we're going to talk about it, we have to. If you want to talk about dark places, Chris, you've got to go dark places. And I hate that, but you sometimes have to. But it even says in the description, part of this film is paedophilia. They've written it up there. In this film, there is a scene depicted as a definition of paedophilia. I'm like, when you're writing that, does that not make you think that maybe the film shouldn't have been made? I don't know whether you've discussed this already, Chris.
No, it's not something that I've had a chance to discuss, really. But
it's very odd.
It's what is odder is that there'll be people in society, Tim, watching that going, what's everyone going on about? It's just like, they're just a dance troupe. They're not like, right, I've been fighting this for years, since I started studying as a youth worker. Twice now I've been into a petrol garage and I've asked to see the manager, and I'd say, can you just step outside for a minute with me? And then bang, I've beaten them up. No. And I've taken them, along the newspaper rack that they have outside the shop, right? And I pointed out the Daily Sport, or whatever the offending rag is.
Yeah.
Picture of a woman, one leg over there, one leg over there. Right, front page of a newspaper. Right, okay. If you want to buy those papers, that's each to their own, right? But I've said to this manager, that is at child's height.
Oh yeah.
These kids are coming into your garage after school to buy their sweets and whatever. All the young girls got to walk by that, right? What message are you giving to them about their life? What life choices are they going to make because they look at that, they see an adult doing that, then they got all the bloody whole makeup thing and the fact that... I said to my friend, do you dress your child in pink? He went, Chris, you can't buy anything else for a girl, right? This is a
Really?
systematic destruction of young women's futures. You know, their future prospects, pigeonholing them at such a young age, not just by the pink agenda, right? And for anyone listening, this ain't about a colour. And if you think it is, I probably could never explain to you. This is about the indoctrination of people when they're at an age before they have the ability to think for themselves, that have been programmed by adults into their whole life's narrative. And on top of that, you've got this pornography aimed at these, you know, children, sending out the message that this is perfectly fine, that you are basically, you know, an object for your entire life, and you need to just perform for men.
There's a woman on Twitter, Chris, called Catherine Burbelsing, is it? I think she's as Miss Snuffy on Twitter, and she runs a charter school in London. She's a black woman, but she's very she's a very articulate woman to listen to. I'm just saying that she's a black woman because her school, she talks about race a lot. And I could listen to her all day, and she gave a really angry rant today, rightly so, about just what you're talking about. Like, this film has young girls and the problem is the boys at her school that she teaches watch this stuff, and they think that's how the girls are supposed to be, dressed like that at the age they're supposed to be dressed like that. And she says to these young men, look, this is not what's supposed to, and they're like, well, it's on TV, it's a Netflix, it's a real, isn't it? It's on a, and then the boys, then they watch all these lyrics about rap and stuff like that, and then they end up thinking you got to carry knives and stuff, and so they do carry knives, and then they end up in gangs, and then, you know, the whole thing is done from a very early age. It's a culture issue, and she says she does everything she can to try and drive out those narratives, but in the country we don't help that. You know, we perpetuate that by, as you're saying, have magazines on like that little kids can see, and oh, that's what women are. And I'll tell you another thing as well. This is what obviously other cultures see all over the world are, you know, are women dressed all like that all the time, and of course they don't know how to behave around them because their women aren't dressed like that. It's a very confusing thing, but unfortunately we've got ourselves into a bit of a mess, haven't we, over the last couple of years. I don't know how well, I'll say last decade, I suppose, really. I don't know what the answer is, Chris, apart from getting your people enlightened like you're doing now.
Yeah. The
I don't know, look at your chat.
Again, I'll just say it again, folk, you know, you've got to peel back behind this, right? You don't want to be the surfer on the wave that's just getting controlled by the ocean and push. You want to go behind what is creating that wave. What is the driver behind it? Who are the drivers? And it's why I spoke to Charlie Ward the other day, because there's talk of a new financial system. It's called NESARA, and there's a global version called GESARA. So it's National Economic. I won't even pretend to try to remember the acronym, but basically it's a system of resetting the economy and getting it back by gold again. But I'm interested to know about it because, as I keep saying, it's the money magicians that are screwing all of us. They're controlling the whole show, and they have done, as I say, for 6, maybe 8,000 years since people first got a method of exchange. But yes, I tell you what, should we watch the videos and see if I can get the technology?
Does it make me look good? You know, they asked me to be in Top Gun 2, and I said, give it to my mate Tom. He's an old age pensioner now, and he probably needs the money, to be honest.
Yeah, what's he doing in a blooming F-16 if he's got a bus pass? That's what I want to know.
He does not age, that man. He is a vampire. We realise that. He doesn't age. He looks the same. I don't know what he does, but crikey, if we look, you know, how do we? You know, my hair's falling out right now. You know, I'm receding on my hairline, and I'm like, hang on, 46, what's going on? That's not in the plan, by the way. I'm going to shave it all off and grow a massive beard and wear sunglasses and mirror shades.
Well, talking about vampires in Hollywood, that's another hot topic. But again, it's all distraction, and it's all distraction. But not saying it doesn't happen, but I'm just saying there's a reason behind all this perversion and evil in the world, because it's created. So
It's true.
let's see how my technological skills are going to hold
Right.
up, mate. I'm
You
going to
do
go.
that.
I'm going to go to the movie.
That chat is funny. I must admit, the chat is funny.
Yeah.
Don't have to have face-to-face sex. Yeah, well, you wouldn't want to if you knew my wife. Oh, you know what I mean? I put 2 masks on her.
Hey, I'll tell you what. Did you ever think you'd be on the big screen with the Top Gun logo above you?
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Is that what you did? Was it in your start? You put Top Gun logo above it. Oh, it just
you-
embarrassed me, crikey.
No, can you not see the
Oh, I got it now. Yeah. Oh
you see
God,
our
well, that's a
video?
screenshot on it. I am watching the video now on my phone. It's a bit weird.
Okay. Right. So I don't think you've got volume, but I don't think it's so important. Should we go for this, folks?
I'll make noises.
Let's have a look. Let's see if we get stopped for copyright.
Yeah. Well, I'll mute myself here and listen to it.
Oh. Let's just go back to our beautiful faces on the big screen. What do we make of that then, Tim?
It's actually quite good, isn't it? It's very interesting. They use that bell well, don't they? The ding.
Yes.
I love that.
I
use that now.
I wonder how many people go down the recruiting office just because of that bell.
Well, they did the last time Top Gun came. Yeah, the last time Top Gun came out, they had a huge surge in recruiting in the Navy. Some of the guys I speak to in the US Navy joined because of Top Gun. I joined because Iron Eagle. Dougie, Iron Eagle is a brilliant film. Iron Eagle came out before Top Gun, in fact, but that was the United States Air Force variant of Top Gun. There's a lot of things in that. There's an extended one as well of that, I believe. But I mean, I think I'd seen that one before, but the extended one, I think I may have seen one. I didn't know whether there was a new trailer being released, but I mean, there are several things about that, aren't there? It's very cinematic, and that's what you have with these films, Jerry Bruckheimer, Don Simpson films. I remember the advisor on the first Top Gun film, and there's a 3-part series on YouTube called The Making of Top Gun. It goes through the making of Top Gun. It's fantastic. And they said to the Navy advisor, said, no. That scene when they're flying around the mountains, we don't do that. We don't fly like that around the mountains. And I think Don Simpson said, I don't care. It's great for TV. So there's that. And it's a film. What do you want to watch? Air combat is quite dull. It's like goes around in circles. I teach it on Sims at the moment, digital combat sim. And I say to people, it is dull. Kills happen within 40 seconds. And if they don't, then you'll probably have to die because someone else is going to come in and kill you. So it's fast, it's a bit brutal. And if it doesn't, you sit there in circles. So in Top Gun, when they're chasing each other like this, if you film from a cockpit, by the way, because I have done a lot of it, jets look tiny. You wouldn't even see them. If you look on my website, you've got some pictures, and some of the pictures you'll think you're looking at fields, and you're not. There's a jet in the middle of it, and it's tiny. Yet when you come past them, it's about 1,000 foot away. It's not that far. It was actually quite a big jet, but when the camera makes it look really tiny. So even when you're filming, you've got to have the jets really close in, like closer than they would ever be for real in air combat. We have 1,000 foot around the aircraft that we cannot go inside for air combat because you can just close in and hit each other. And from behind what's called the 3-9 line, of course, I don't have I'll use my combat tomato, shall we? Because I haven't got an airplane with me. That's the nose of the jet here, and the tail of the jet's at the back here. And the wings come out the side, as you can tell. Anything behind the wings of my tomato is called the 3-9 line down to the tail. Behind that, you can be at 500 feet behind the airplane. That's fine because you can keep your speed under control. But yeah, no, I like it. And it's a good story, and it's got some great actors in there. And I think it's the son of Goose, isn't it? I think that he happens to train. And of course, there's going to be a death. They're going to use the same thing that worked the last time, aren't there? There's going to be a bit of a love entanglement. There's going to be a bit of, the whole, I don't know whether they're going to do the shower scene again, but there's going to be that whole kind of Iceman versus Maverick. One's very clinical, one's fly by the seat of his pants and stuff. And to be honest, he was called Maverick for a reason, because pilots tend to be Mavericks, because we don't like authority at all. And we have to join the military to fly fast jets. And if fast jets are flown outside the military, we probably go and fly them somewhere else, to be fair. But so we get in, we join the military. I've never been with a pilot ever who is very pro-authority, very anti-authority, but we pretend, because that's how you get promoted, isn't it? So you pretend. And one of the things I felt, Chris, when I came out of the military, I'd been so conformist. I had no energy for creativity because they oppose each other. And I came out, and all of a sudden I'm creating YouTube channels and doing films and all this kind of stuff, and writing essays and books and taking pictures and having a great time. You know what I mean? But you don't get that when you're conforming in a conventional military structure. So what you're seeing in that film is Maverick when he says, there's an extended one where I think he talks about, they invite him back to the flight school. He actually says he's ordered back to work, and he says, "Thank you for inviting me back." They say it's called Orders, Maverick. So he knows what he's doing. He's ripping the piss. He knows what he's doing.
I've got another clip we can watch, which has got a bit of the director sort of, or at least the film crew stuff. So it's interesting because, like, I'm looking at this purely from an aesthetic creator's point of view, right?
Right. Okay. Got him.
Obviously, we did a whole podcast talking about the War Machine and what it's really about, didn't we? And who benefits.
Smedley Butler. Yeah, war's a racket, isn't it?
Yeah, and all
20.
Yeah, war's a racket. Again, it's all controlled by the money mafia and their corporate arm. So all the companies massively profit from the war and or from these wars, should I say? So, but that wasn't the road I wanted to go down. I just wanted to talk from an artistic point of view. That trailer is awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
They've
it's beautiful.
Absolutely cut that and or edited it and filmed it. Just to.
I don't think it's the score. I don't think people give enough credit to the person who did that score for that trailer. It's atmospheric. You can listen to that, by the way, without watching it. And there's all the zooming jet noises, which you don't hear in real life, by the way. Cockpits are very quiet. If I'm in formation with another guy and he puts reheat or afterburner on, you'll hear it a bit louder. But you're flying next to a jet, you can't hear them. You can't hear the jet. You can't, because you've got your own engines. You've got a lot of beeps and squiggles going on in the cockpit. The Tornado was a fiercely loud cockpit. Like the radar warning receiver, everything seemed to make some noise. It was hugely loud, which is why we didn't talk that much in the cockpit, because you had all the radios or listening to like 2 or 3 different frequencies at the same time. But sitting next to a jet, you go past a jet, you don't hear it. You don't get this stuff. It doesn't happen. You don't hear it at all.
Wow.
Only if you're in a formation, if you're on the runway in 4 jets, 4 Tornadoes getting airborne in Lossiemouth. So you're in a formation like 1, 2, and then the other 2 are down here as well. So down here, like four jets in a echelon. When we all go into reheat, when the lead jet goes into reheat, we're all sitting in dry power on the brakes. So dry power is no flames out the back. It's but max power on 2 engines. The jet's noses are buried. We're all powered up together like this. Noses are there. When the lead jet goes into reheat, the jet next to it, you'll see it wobble like this. And then the jet powers up into reheat and goes off. And then when the one that goes with me into reheat, my jet will shake like this. And I hear it go roar, and they roar away. But up there in the sky, you don't hear it because you've got the engines and you're up there, air flows wishing past. So all those kind of zoomy noises sound cool. I like them a lot. Doesn't happen in real life though. And also arguments like you saw in that video there where 2 pilots were trying to get at each other. It's like, doesn't happen. All pilots are the same. We're entirely predictable. We don't get into fights. We're like that. In fact, I'm doing a podcast soon on masculine violence, because I do think we're entering a territory now. Because I got shouted at by a young kid in Cheltenham the other day, my local town. This kid just threw something across in front of me. He wasn't aiming at me, but he had a drink, just threw it in the street like that. Flashed me up, didn't it? I'm a 230-pound guy. He doesn't want to mess around with that. So I didn't do anything. I didn't say anything, because apparently if you touch a kid at that age, he must have been about 15 or 16. That's assault of a minor. And I know this because someone had told my sister's a police officer. So I went up, picked the thing up, looked at him, put it in a bin like that. And he said, well, come at me then. Oh, he doesn't want to do that, does he? He had his 10 friends around him, but he doesn't want to do that. I'm a 230-pound guy, and I've been angry for my entire life. So, but anyway, so I want to talk about masculine violence. It's very easy to get involved in a confrontation like that. I went up to a police officer and said, I'm not reporting anything. What would you do if this happened? And he said, oh, it happens a lot now. It's happening more. Young people just chucking stuff, because they haven't been to school. And he says, but you did the right thing. He said, pick it up, put it in the bin. Don't get involved with him, because if you lay a hand on him, I've got to arrest you, and you will go to court, and you will get a caution, and then you won't, be able to travel so well or whatever, or get job opportunities. It's crazy, Chris. That's the way the world's going, my man. You know what I'm saying? It is. So I'm doing a podcast on masculine violence about keeping distance, keeping the fence, not getting involved. A lot of masculine violence comes out of confrontation and lack of situational awareness. We don't have to do that. You know about it anyway, because of course you do. We can take ourselves away. We don't need to be in there. I just want people to be aware of being dragged into these things. But yeah, getting in a fisticuffs on a squadron, never seen it before in my life ever. And I was flying for 20 years. The most I ever saw 2 pilots argue was my deputy, a lovely bloke. He took my job over now. He's at Valley. He's a great guy. And he was having a bit of a down day. And we're in the crew room. And when you fly regularly, it's tiring, Chris. You know what I mean? It's hard on the body. And I think he'd flown twice that day, and he's probably have to fly again. And someone was talking about something and he didn't agree with it, and he sort of had a mini flash, you know, where you go, well, I think you're wrong because of that. And it was so shocking that someone would be elevated like that in a crew room. Everyone kind of stopped and looked at him, and he sort of stormed off. And I walked, no, I didn't storm off. I kind of grabbed his arm because I was his boss. I kind of walked him out like that outside, and he was like, sorry. I'm like, I know, mate. Don't. I said, come on, that's not, you know, what's going on? He goes, I'll go and apologize. I'm like, tapped him on the back. He went in, he went, sorry, everyone, I'm really tired. That's the state of it. That's how violent we get as pilots. You know what I mean? We're just the same people. We're all the same. Self-select, you know, we do the same things when we're young. We self-select to go into the military. We go in, well, then the military selects us. We go through officer training, and then you spend the next 5 to 6 years learning to fly, generally with the same people. There's people I don't get on with, Chris. There's people I don't need to speak to again. There's people that have unfriended me because I speak out like this on podcasts and stuff, and I try and help men understand their purpose and especially transitioning through midlife crises and stuff. Because if you can keep a man alive between the ages of 40 and 45, you've pretty much done well. You know, he's not going to go and slot himself. But 40 and 45, between 40 and 45 are difficult years for men. You know this as well. So I feel that's my role. I run courses on that. I speak to a lot of men about it. But yeah, so we're the same people, you know, all of us really.
Yeah, it's difficult, that military connection, because as much as we love, you know, being part of this brotherhood, or in your case, brother and sisterhood, you're talking about people that live in their egos, aren't you? You know, they're in the third dimension. And
you've got to have an ego as a pilot, but you don't have to have a massive ego. And I don't know pilots with massive egos. I don't make it. I think what happens sometimes, display pilots, no, I don't. It doesn't really happen. They get brought back down again by other pilots. They don't look like a dick, you know.
Yeah,
you've got to have an ego.
When I say ego, it's probably a bit misleading word, because it covers like a lot of
confidence all the way through to arrogance.
I just mean someone that lives in their ego is someone that will hop in a plane and go and bomb another country. That's all like lower, what the Buddhists would call lower self. It's
I understand.
Justification to yourself that you're right to do. You live in a matrix, so you believe your orders. You don't question them. You get your information from the BBC News, but you know, and we all know.
Not anymore. I don't. But not anymore, Chris. But
you don't live in your ego, though, Tim. I tell you that. You don't. I don't. But like I say, 98% of the public do.
And we both went to war, and you know what? I challenged that war I went to because we're using the old mandate from the UN. I challenged it, and an attorney came and sat in front of the entire squadron. This was back in 2005 when I went to Iraq for the first time, one of the first squadrons out there. And she said, I remember, she sat in front of the whole squadron and said, she was a military lawyer pretty much. And she said, if you bomb someone out in theatre at the moment, you will go to jail, because you know they hadn't squared it away. And we're like, oh, brilliant, okay, thanks for that. And even when I was supposed to drop on a target, which was a lot of people, unfortunately, and I had someone in the back of the jet, let's just say, I don't need to know who it was, a bit senior, and he said, there's a lot to be said for not being the first jet to drop in theatre. And he was absolutely right, Chris.
Yes, of course.
He's right. But still, the British Army need a bomb. They need a bomb, don't they? And that they didn't. But one thing I say, Chris, is I fought against the whole war. Well, the whole squadron did. A lot of educated men and women were fighting against this. Like, hang on, what's going on? But as soon as you're committed to that war, you go. You don't talk about it again until you come home. Because you do not leave those young men, as you know, on the ground without air support. It's not going to happen. If that jet comes at you with a target in it, it's going to destroy that target. It's just not. Discuss it later on when we come home. You know what I mean? But we should have discussed it before we went, and we haven't. So you're going to get the bomb, you're going to get the gun, and then when we come home again, we'll talk it out. But when you commit a tornado squadron to theatre operations, you are literally saying it's like committing the parachute regiment or the Royal Marines, isn't it? Shock troops, you know. It's like committing to a peacekeeping thing. It's like that's not really going to work too well for you. Well, Royal Marines it does. Parachute regiment, I'm assuming it's not the best task that they could possibly be employed with, although they do it, of course. But a lot of tornadoes, you know, a squadron of tornadoes coming at you is going to carry on going, and it's an exceptional amount of expeditious violence, you know, delivered in one huge pack.
My God, it is. It's all hell breaking loose.
And it has to be though, Chris, really, because if you're attacking, say, a tank brigade and you just take out 1 or 2 tanks, those tanks still go, and then I've got to send more people. So if I take out half the amount of tanks in one go, that tank battalion might become combat ineffective, and those other men live. You see what I mean? They get to go home again. But taking out 1 or 2 tanks, well, they still fight, you still go. So it's the sort of the blitzkrieg is the shock way of ending something quickly so that people live. It sounds counterintuitive, but that's why I say it's an exceptional amount of violence delivered in the most expeditious manner possible. Some people on my YouTube channel find that hard to understand, and that's why we have these discussions. Young men, unfortunately, find it difficult to come to terms with the fact that they may have to do that, because when they look at jets, they're like, I want to fly jets. It's like, understand that you're an officer first, you're a pilot second, and you're a warfighter who has to deliver death to the enemy. It's not a flying club, unfortunately. It does you damage, doesn't it, Chris, when you leave? You've got to do some work on that. Yeah,
it's hard, mate. It's the same with the Marines. I mean, especially when I was doing lots of commando videos, I had this chat a lot. I get it's the biggest question I get asked. The most amount of messages are, Chris, I understand, you know, that you're working for the ruling elite, but I still want to join anyway. And not always. Some people are like, do you know what? I wanted to join, but now I understand what it's really about. You know, I think I'm going to do something else.
It's not a bad career though, Chris. That's the thing I say to young people. If you can compartmentalize what you're going to do, if you can come to terms with it, that hopefully, I mean, look at Trump. Everyone gives Trump a bad time, right? But he's not started any new wars at all. If anything, he's brought troops out. Every other president has been throwing guys into conflicts, you know, sons and daughters dying and stuff. And for what? What tangible change have we honestly made? Let's look at Afghanistan or something, or the war in Iraq. Yeah, we've got a lot of companies made a lot of money out of those wars, but for the people, anything tangibly change? ISIS went into that vacuum. Of course not. You know what I mean? And we knew it was going to happen. So
I always say joining the Marines was the proudest thing I ever did. It's one hell of a career. It's not really a career, it's a lifestyle. You get the experience of not having to work for a fucking wanker boss for all your young years who doesn't care about you, and you sit on your fat ass in an office. You know, the most exciting thing you do in your day is sneakily watch a YouTube video in the afternoon. If you don't get caught, then you go home, have your fish and chips, watch your soap opera, and fall asleep. You know, with your beer. Right? It's if people aren't living that, then I'm absolutely impressed for them. But I'm just generalising here. You join the Marines, oh my God. Okay, once you pass that training, it's 60 to 70% utter boredom, and you wish you weren't there. You wish you were at home doing something, but then you get paid while you're at home doing that thing. So there's a lot of pluses to it, but I say to people, if you are going to join, just make sure you know who you're fighting for, because if you think it's about freedom and democracy, then you're deluded, and who wants to be deluded in their life? I'm guessing some people probably do. But I just want to say Tony made a donation in the chat earlier, and I didn't get a chance to say thank you. So thank you so much, Tony. That really helps me out. If you put your questions in caps, guys.
I've got some here. Do you want me to go through them?
What we do, let's watch a bit more of the next video, and then we'll relax and take the questions, and then we'll bid adieu, or if that's the right German.
Yeah, we'll take some questions. That's fine.
Let's have a look at the next video. I'm just showing off doing all the technology because I normally screw it up, Tim.
Oh, hang on a sec. Sorry, so I've got watch this now. Yeah, okay.
So this is the director's cut, or not the director's cut, but it's more of a bit about the background. I probably won't watch all of it, folks, but let's have a look.
Viper 1 ready. Maverick to range control, stand by. Alright, 3, 2, 1.
I'm just going to pause that. There was a guy there, I don't know if you caught it, folks, but he had a quilted jacket. He was behind the camera or near the camera. He had a blue quilted jacket. It's the jacket I just bought because I was supposed to be running across the desert this month, wasn't I? Running across the Sahara Desert. And that jacket cost me 400 quid. And it weighs something like 18 grams. Just wanted to point that out. So that guy had style.
34 years, Tom Cruise returns as Maverick. This is a competition film about family, friendship, and sacrifice. It's a love letter to aviation. We're going to show you what it's really like to be a Top Gun pilot.
You just can't create this kind of experience.
I'm just going to chip in there because I don't know if that was Jerry Bruckheimer speaking, but what did he say? It's about family, friends, and something or other. Conveniently didn't mention that it's actually about illegally invading other people's country and dropping bombs on them. But
unless you shoot it live. In order for us to accomplish this, we have the greatest fighter pilots in the world working with us.
We're working with a brand new camera system that allows us to put 6 IMAX quality cameras inside the cockpit with the actors.
Verify cameras are on. Check cameras on. There you go.
It's amazing what we see in the cockpit and what an audience is going to experience.
Great camera position.
Thanks to Tom, all the actors are becoming accustomed to the G-forces by all the training that they're doing.
It is aggressive. You can't act that. The distortion in the face. They're pulling 7.5 HGs. That's 1,600 pounds of force. I am so proud of them and what they've done. And it is heavy duty.
All right. Oh, okay.
Putting us up in these jets, it's very serious. That's why everybody thought it would be impossible. And I think when Tom hears that something's impossible or it can't be done, that's when he gets to work.
It'll work out. That's what I'm talking about.
Flying one of these fighter jets is an absolute thrill ride. We want to make sure that the audience has the...
I'm just going to pause it there, folks. This trailer was under Creative Commons, so I think they don't mind if you use it. But I'm just going to stop there for a minute because the longer you play something, the more chance you are going to get hit for a copyright issue. But
no worries. They can watch it.
Yeah, what I wanted to point out was he said something like Tom Cruise has really been showing these actors how to be in the cockpit, and I wonder if he said that purposely to ignore the fact that no, there's a pilot in there flying the aeroplane. Tom's just in the back seat pulling all these, G-force facial expressions. Obviously, he's got G-force, but I am right in that, Tim. This is a 2-seater, right? And they've got a camera filming backwards.
Yeah, you can't teach. Yeah, so I fly with some pilots. Well, I'm going to say this. There's simulator pilots. They fly DCS on simulator. It's a very complicated flight sim, and they fly this aircraft, the F-18, on that. And it's very hard for me even to get them into the correct position where we can do air combat because they haven't done the previous 3 years worth of flying. Just to know how to be in formation and how to turn onto a heading and get to the flight level. And these actors, there'd be no way they could have flown that jet themselves. They can go up and down, left and right, and they can make it climb, make it to start, and then maybe they can even use the throttle to set some aspect of power, but they can't do these maneuvers you're seeing here. They're not conditioned physically for it for the start. That's why you see the guy at the end there, feeling sick, because if I didn't fly for about 30 days and I went in air combat sortie, I'll be solo, I'll be by myself. After about 30, 40 minutes, I'd be making myself sick, like literally feeling horrible. And it would be fine. I'd get back to my office, lie down for like 3 minutes on the floor as the world just went around me. And then the next trip, I'd be absolutely fine. But I was working in an office at the same time, remember, as I in the last year of my flying. So those actors did really well to withstand all that stuff. And the US Navy don't mess around. I don't like the way the US Navy do it, to be honest. They're pretty brutal with their packs, but they say you want to give them the full fighter pilot experience. In the Royal Air Force, we didn't do that. We could pull up to 4G with a passenger, it's called a PAX, 4G with them. If they were, if they were fine with it, we could then pull more G. But you don't make someone unconscious in an airplane. It's an incredibly dangerous thing to do. And the amount of G they're pulling there, these guys would have the G pants on that inflate to keep the blood from coming from your head and your heart. But to have someone unconscious in an airplane sitting on an injection seat is a bad thing, because when you wake up from that unconscious state, which is called G-induced loss of consciousness, which can last, maybe up to, as soon as the blood comes back to your brain, the oxygen is in your brain, you recover, but you've got about a 30-second period afterwards where you don't really know where you are. And you're like, where am I? What's going on? But the main thing is that your nerves can be hit with it. So your hands do this and your arms do this for about 20 seconds. And doing that next to an ejection handle,
no, not good.
That's a bad thing. So that's why we don't do that in the Air Force. We're with passengers. So those guys would have had specialist training in the centrifuge probably as well. They've done well though, to be honest, because the US Navy don't mess around. So
yeah, just for our friends at home, I put up the clip of Tim and I discussing the ejector seat. So if you go into my playlist, I think I put it under Elite Forces clips. There's Tim and I discussing the ejector seat, because I saw Quadrex there. Hello, Quadrex.
Yeah, we could do something as well.
And just to give a bit of context, so Tim is a pilot, RAF and naval pilot. I'm a private pilot, so I've never, could only ever aspire to going as fast as these guys are travelling. But I did work on an aircraft carrier for a year. So this is why, it's quite a special moment when you see the plane taking off and doing that spiral. I can tell you now, it's much more romantic in the photography than it is in real life. In real life, it's smelly, it's stinky of avgas. It's quite a humble thing. The plane just goes up the ramp and takes off. It's not quite the hold on to your hats that the film puts across. But that's a film, isn't it? And they do it really. They do it really well. Let's just watch a wee bit more, and then we'll go to some questions.
Same experience.
3, 2, 1, turn.
Aviation film like this has never been done, and chances are will never be done again.
There we go. So yes, let's get our mugs back on the big screen. Yeah, it's not a film that you're not going to watch, Tim, is it? Really?
I will watch it. Don't get me wrong, I will, and I'm quite excited about it. It seems to be quite good. But like you, Chris, I don't think too much about the other side to that sort of film and attracting young men and women into the military to go and do things overseas, because if you do think about that too much, it kind of eats you up a little bit, especially having done that yourself. But I will look at it for an enjoyment factor, but also I look at it to see how they've edited it together, and is it genuine flying? Have they, the bit you saw with the jet accelerating away from the camera jet, that was sped up, for example. Jets don't accelerate that fast, they accelerate quite slowly as the speed kicks in. So, but that was done for the trailer, fair enough. But apparently all of it's genuine in the film. I don't think there's much CGI, so I'm interested to have a look at that. And I'll be fair to Tom. Me and Tom go back a long way. To be fair to Tom, he puts his body through punishing schedules with all the stunts that he does himself anyway. I mean, he hanged off the back of an A400M Airbus, didn't he? One of those things in the Royal Air Force when he was doing Mission Impossible. That was him doing that stunt. So fair play to the boy. He's not a young man, and he does all right. Obviously, he's a vampire, so it doesn't count, but. Yeah. I'll give him a call later and go, Tom, I was talking about you again, mate, on the podcast. Yeah, no, Chris doesn't want you on, mate. He doesn't want you on. No, he says you're rubbish.
Yes.
So a different question or something, or
I'm trying to. Yeah, I'm just going to go back through. I'm
Yeah, I'm scrolling up.
Let me have a look.
You can ask me the questions. Why don't you do that? Else I'll just jump straight in there and with both feet.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about what you're saying about Tom being fit, but I'm guessing with his religious background or the cult or whatever you want to call that what's it called again? The
I was with the I can't remember now. There was a spaceship lands. There was a I can't remember.
Oh, sorry guys, it slipped my mind.
I'm not into that.
Yeah, I think somebody
someone wrote it out there. Someone put it in.
Somebody put it in
Someone put it in. Oh, Paul Jackson.
Scientology. Sorry, Scientology.
There we
that
go.
was it. Scientology.
Yeah,
there you go.
Scientology.
Brains kicked in again. So, Quadrex, has Tim ever had to use the ejector seat?
No, loads of my friends have. I never did. We had a really high rate of ejections. There was an Australian pilot that came over us and flew with us for a long time, and I know him, he's a friend of mine. And he said, "Why do you guys keep ejecting all the time?" And he was right. There was like ejections going all over. It was ridiculous. But we tend to push we were pushing our training a lot harder than I think other nations were. We're doing a lot more low flying, so we're hitting a lot more birds, or mountains, of course. And the jets, it's always to do with the serviceability of the jet. But no, I never did. And I'm lucky. I reached for it twice, never pulled it. And I would have been killed both times if I had pulled the handle, because the jet was outside of the ejection envelope. It was at an angle at both sides. I would have come out and hit the ground. In fact, my deputy at Valley had a very similar experience recently. And he said exactly the same thing. He went for the handle, realised they're both going to be killed, so stayed with the airplane, hit his wing on the runway, and took off again, basically, because the wing hit the concrete and damaged the wing. But I don't think that made the press, did it? Maybe I shouldn't talk about that.
Yeah, and the other thing we mentioned in our chat, Tim, wasn't it, is that if you eject, you're taking the risk of having spinal damage for life and not being able to fly again. Yeah,
so it's better than death, but it's still going to mess you up in a big way. Spinal damage normally, you can get flailing injuries. We had arm restraints and leg restraints that pull my arms into the seat, but arms can come out here and break off. Well, not break off, but break and stuff. High speed especially. So the seat won't save you. The F-35 is a good seat, actually. The Typhoon as well. The Tornado seat wasn't that brilliant, but it's not a panacea. You've got to, you can be upside down at 250 feet at 420 knots, about 500 miles an hour, and you can eject and you'll be fine. If you've got 5 degrees down towards the ground and you eject, you're going to be killed. So it's not, you got to be in seat limits. We call it inside ejection seat limits, and we're all aware of what they are.
So is there, Brooks asking, is there a comparable adrenaline rush in Civvy Street to taking off on a sortie?
Oh, it's not actually, the funny thing is, there's not really much adrenaline in flying. Well, what I mean by that is it's normalized by the time you get onto the jets, because you've flown for 5 or 6 years. I tell you that if I'm on a red flag exercise in America, and I've been to the briefs last ages, I've done the planning. Red flag is the biggest exercise you can go on. It's like a mini war in the Nevada desert. And I've done the briefs, I've got my mission, I know where I'm going, I know what I've got to do. I'm part of a massive package of maybe 80, 90 aircraft. You're all in a big line, taxiing out. That, I remember, I'm lucky, I did it with a navigator, I did a weapons officer. I'd hate to do it solo. As in, I hate to not have a guy on board with me, because it's a big exercise. You're pretty much hyped up for that, because you don't want to get that wrong. You don't want to be the guy in the debrief that someone says, "Where was Wolf 2? Put your hand up." And you're like, "Oh, this is going to go badly." And all the pilots are in the room, you know what I mean? And all the pilots are like, "Oh, dude, what have you done?" I'm like, "Oh, this is going to suck." They're like, "Wolf 2, we've spotted you doing this, and it's a violation of training rules." I'm like, "Oh, sorry." So that's why you're amped up for it, because you just don't want to embarrass yourself or the squadron or your country, really, because you're there for your country, aren't you? It's full of Americans, Canadians, Israelis, everyone's there, So that's it. But doing air combat, it's not like, "Oh, I'm on edge, this is brilliant." It's not like that. It's clinical. You just want to fly the correct speeds, see the correct picture, the angles, the energy, maintain, get in close to the sight picture, and then kill out, get back home, drink tea. If you like drinking tea. So, but is there a comparative one though? That's interesting. The only thing I could think of is if I'm having an affair, my wife comes home. That's got to be it, isn't it? It's got No, I don't know. And if you know what it is, tell me, because I could do with a bit of that. I'll tell you what, public speaking is an interesting one, Chris. I'm all right now, public speaking. I've done a lot of it. But when I first started off public speaking to companies especially, I spoke at Renault Formula One, and it was a packed out auditorium there, like the whole company. And I was all right with that because I did a lot of training. But before, when I was speaking at other things, when I first came out of the military, a lot of people didn't know who they were, walk on stage and you're like, you know, but it's a science. You go, okay, cool. What do we do? What do psychologists do to treat people with anxiety? They introduce them to what they're anxious about in smaller doses, and they keep doing that until eventually the anxiety goes away. Same with flying on a jet, isn't it? If you're scared of flying, go flying on, just go for a little flight and then a little more flight, or watch flying videos, or go to flight simulator, and eventually you normalize it. And anything that's not normalized in our life, we can be anxious about. That's the problem. And that's the problem with things like this Cuties film as well, because that will normalize our behavior towards looking at small girls with not many clothes on, and before you know it, it becomes the norm, and we'll see it on adverts soon, and it'll be like, what has our society turned into? Which is why you don't do it in the first place. You don't look at girls in the, you know, scantily dressed small girls. It's like, what's that about? How to get that rant in?
Yeah, no, it's a good rant. It's a good rant, and we need men like you, Tim, because we've got a country full of pussies now.
Boys, I call them boys, Chris. Some men don't ever become men; they stay as boys their entire life.
Most don't. You've only got to see the state of some people's blooming houses or bedrooms, and you think, Jesus.
Yeah, tidy the stuff up.
Just like who? Not a criticism. It's just an it's an observation. But we were at one time a nation of warriors. You know, we didn't take any shit. Now we just let these depraved maniacs debaucherize our kids. And
there's men out there still. You know, there are men, Chris. I spoke to a man the other day. He's one of yours, in fact. He was a swimmer canoeist, if you know what I mean. He's coming outside now. And I said, why are you coming outside? And he said, because I'm sick and tired of being cold and wet. It's done it too much. He goes, you know, diving under the Fearless or something in zero visibility for the second time, third time in a day. But that was a man. That was a guy very much in touch with his vulnerabilities. He was asking about what he does when he leaves service. But there are men out there. I think the problem is those men keep themselves to themselves. And they just get the work done. I think I'm more referring to, like, you want to be a man, you know, and what by man I mean that jointly, man, woman. You've got to learn the rules. You've got to learn what you're playing by. You've got to learn what the enemy is doing to your children as we speak now. You know, if you're doing a certain thing in society at the moment, and you know what I'm referring to, if you're wearing certain things, you're not a man. You're a coward. Right? Because you are enslaving children. That is all you're doing by not standing up and taking a stand and going, sorry, I'm not doing that. Not you know, the even if you want to believe the narrative, and like I say, when you learn science, life takes on a whole new meaning. But even if you want to do what they're doing now to our children, for the sake of maybe 0.001% of the population that's not manliness. No, we need to protect the vulnerable, don't we, Chris? That's not manliness. But here we go. Right. I'm glad you're having those conversations. I'm glad you are, to be honest. Well, if you don't protect children, there is actually a word for people that you know, program children. I don't even. We've already mentioned it earlier, but that you ain't no different to that. You know, if you just wholesale accept what's being done to them at the minute, the programming of their file. If you're wondering, file, like as you file a computer, you program a computer. That's what they're doing to this young generation at the minute, filing them with fear, false science. Yeah, if we don't stand out about it, if we don't speak out about it, we're complicit in it. That's the problem I've got. You know, it's what it said. It's only for evil to take place and for good men to do nothing. And that's why when that kid threw that thing across the street, when I was walking, I was like, yeah, I want to do something about that. You know, I want to drag the kid over, kicking and screaming, get him to pick it up and put it in the bin. But if I touch that kid, this is why it's mixed up, isn't it? It's not my son. You know, he's probably had bad parenting or something. You know, I don't know, bad schooling, most definitely. But you know, whether the parents expect the school to be the parents, don't they? It's awful. But I'm glad you're talking about what's happening right now, Chris, because a lot of people, unfortunately, that aren't really listening too much. Well, you know, I've seen these big men, Tim, and they got the big biceps from the gym. They're covered in tattoos. They got the skinny jeans on, and I'm not going to say it, but they're wearing something, and they just look fucking ridiculous. You know, what are they wearing? No, I'm not going to say it, but you showed us one. You showed us one earlier.
You
What's the motto?
They're going into, say, supermarkets wearing certain things, and it's just fucking grow up, for fuck's sake, you know. It's not on. It's just not on. You're just condemning the next generation to a future of slavery by being cowards and yeah. It's like this thing about taking the knee, and people are going, I ain't doing that, you know. I ain't doing that.
You and me the same. Oh dear, you and me the same.
No one dictates, as long as you're not out hurting anybody, you know. No one dictates how you live your life. So long as human law is, you just don't hurt or put other people down or make their lot bad. As long as you're not doing that, you know, and you're not polluting the planet, you can do what the hell you like. And sorry, I'm going on one, but you know, I'm a father, and my boy comes before everybody else on this planet, and so I will say it how it is, because somebody needs to.
I've got this issue with Formula One at the moment, because how far do we let politics cross in a sport? When Formula One was under Bernie Ecclestone, Lewis Hamilton wouldn't have been able to do what he does now. Now, I'm a Lewis fan. I like what he's doing on his channels, etc., 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 etc. He didn't actually break any rules by wearing the T-shirt he wore. You might have seen it in the papers, because the rules are only broken if it's on the car. But now they've rewritten the rules, so he's pushing boundaries, and maybe we need our sports stars to push boundaries. But he comes out with this message. What if every driver had a different message? We never get the race started, would we? That's the problem. And that's my argument. It's like, where do we, what are the boundaries? I think his message is misguided, but he's allowed to have a message.
I'm taking it as this is a Black Lives Matter thing, is it?
It was Breonna Taylor as well, the young black woman that was shot in what was a no-knock drugs warrant. But it was actually it was a knock drugs warrant. They had a no-knock drugs warrant, but they did knock. But she was killed in the crossfire. And he said, arrest the cops for murdering this woman. And it's like, but they've done an investigation into it, and they were exonerated. They were found that there was no impropriety. There was one police officer that shot randomly into the building, and he's on a charge. The rest of them were trying to shoot the bloke, because the bloke had shot at them on entry. The bloke thought he was getting done by drug dealers. So he'd been involved in drugs, and she'd been involved in drugs. So they knocked on the door, opened the door. He hit an officer in the leg, and they returned fire and killed the girl, unfortunately. But Lewis, before the last race at Mugello, had a T-shirt on saying that about Breonna Taylor. And he stood there, and of course they all take a knee, don't they? Now, some drivers don't take a knee. I'd be a driver that didn't take a knee. I'd be standing at the back. I'd have a T-shirt on saying no to racism. I'm happy with that. By the way, let me know when you do end racism, because you never will. So the issue being now, how do you get that sport back to normal? When do you end it? That's why you've got to be very careful with political demonstrations. It's sporting events. They've stopped the BLM stuff on the Premier Football now. They've taken it off. But they were, I don't know if they're still kneeling now. Maybe they are. It's like, what do you do if one player decides not to kneel? His career's over, isn't it? That's why none of you should do that. None of you. You say, no, we're keeping politics out of sport. On your own individual channel, on your Instagram, whatever, tweet away, crack on. We do. I couldn't care less. I follow Lewis closely. I like what he does. He's a superb driver, and he's a good humanitarian. Does great things for the planet as well. He's got some great projects going on. I like what he does. Care. You've got to have care, because F1 is not your platform. It's not Lewis's platform. It does not belong to Lewis Hamilton, and that's the issue. Because other drivers are like, Lewis, what are we doing, mate? Come on. What about what I care about? I want to stand up there and say, I want to talk about domestic violence. No, we can't do that. No. Well, why? Because I want to talk about BLM. That's the problem with it. It's a very grey area, and it's a difficult one. That's why I talk it out, because that's how we understand these things, Chris, is by talking in it.
Yes, it is. Right. I think we should wrap up.
There was a question though, just one. I think that I should have answered.
No,
I didn't see any. I'll just go through from where you said get some writing capitals. Done that. So the one I might have just blocked someone. If I have, I'm really sorry. I don't know what I did. I'm so sorry if I did. One down here was...
You can't block someone on my channel. Don't worry.
I'll wait till it gets on mine then. Then it's on it, and it's on. I don't block anyone, actually. I didn't see any UFOs. No, never. I don't know anyone that has, by the way. So I haven't. My favourite YouTuber, Chris the Man, obviously. I like Chris. I think your channel's brilliant. Chris Dangerfield. He's on all. I like what he says sometimes. Who else do I watch religiously? I'm into political discourse right now. So there's a lot of people who have gotten a bit of Douglas Murray recently, but I'm not 110%. But there are people like that. If you want to know, come onto my one and I'll talk about it on my next My next one. And subscriber, Paul Jackson's down here somewhere. He's my favourite subscriber. He's a lad. Good man. And then just going down the rest of them. Yeah, psychologists, flooding. I'm aware of that. I wasn't aware that they used it that much thing. And I think that's all the questions. I think. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, good. Yes, that's right. Breonna Taylor's number 2 boyfriend thought it was Breonna Taylor's number 1 boyfriend doing the knock. I've heard that one as well, actually. I've heard that one doing the knock, doing the rounds as well. Oh, hang on a sec. I got blocked by Tim Davies' mug. We'll be on eBay later. Yeah, I've got a mug coming out. Well, I've got loads of mugs coming out because you guys seem to want them. Like this, but it's going to say, like, I'm a factually correct statement. I use that one a lot. I've got loads of them. I've got people have been sending me what I talk about on these things and saying, make this into a mug, make it into a T-shirt. I'm like, all right, shut out. So I'm just trying to find the best, because YouTube have merchandise on them, but it can be quite expensive. There's a place in Cornwall that this other Marine put me onto that do merch a lot better. And I want to support small businesses right now because, as Chris said, everyone's buying off Amazon at the moment. You won't have any small businesses to go to soon, and it'll be awful. All our shopping will be delivered. You won't be meeting people in the street. You'll break down. I speak to young people sometimes, and they cannot converse with me like we're doing now. They don't have the ability to have a conversation. Not all, by the way. Not all. A lot of young people are super intelligent, and
Tim, it's this thing when they fucking argue with you. That's
oh yeah.
You know, well, it's like, dude, you're 25 years old. I'm twice your age.
I've never argued with someone.
I've seen a whole world and things that you couldn't even believe, and you're arguing with me because you've seen something in your mainstream media narrative, right? It's just, God, for our young people listening, don't be that person. Just sit back and think, do you know what? This might actually be someone who's got something to say, and I could learn here. Oh God,
I'm good with the discussion, but I had a young guy the other day, I think it was on Twitter, and he said, "There's nothing more important." I don't know how he got himself worked up, and I was being really, respectful. And he said, he just got himself wrapped in a bit of a knot. It's quite easy. I don't find arguments that difficult because I can just analyze and go back over what someone said and say, "Is this what you meant, or should we, expand?" And of course, a lot of people can't expand on it because they haven't done the work. They've got as you said, they've got the MSN, mainstream media part, but they haven't gone, I'm just going to read about that narrative and go a bit deeper. I'm going to go and read Chris's book on Babylon, and I'm going to find out some facts and not listen to whatever that woman on Sky News. She called me a sexist. Kay Burley called me a sexist because I said female pilots. I said the reason there's not that many more female pilots is because females tend to not be attracted to things. They're attracted to relationships and people. This is why they go into healthcare and education and not into engineering. Generalization. I did state generalization, and she put it on her Sky News thing and said, and that, Tim, is a sexist attitude. And I just sent a report from Harvard that said exactly that.
What were you talking on the news or something?
No, she was asking for things. She was on a news program, and I made the mistake of, or someone said, "Hey, look, Kay Burley's asking for people to tweet her about this." Someone sent me a message.
Okay.
And I was like,
okay. And she replied to your tweet, did she?
Yeah, she replied to my tweet.
You got to remember, we saw this with the Jordan Peterson thing on the channel. Their job, they get briefed to push this left wing. It's the people that own the media companies are they're the corporate arm of the Babylonian mafia, right? Their job is to just keep creating this division and this havoc, and that's why Jordan Peterson, when he just stood his ground and went, "No, you're not listening to me, and you're twisting my words to purposely try to make me look bad." And
Kathy Newman, wasn't it?
Kathy Newman, and this is it. This is it. But
well, she said a lot of things, didn't she? She picked the wrong guy and it made him famous, and then everyone listened to him. And where's Kathy Newman now? But she kept saying, "So you're saying what?" But look, Chris, great to speak to you as always. You knew this. I'm a #1 fan. I'm going to get a T-shirt saying Chris Thrall's a great guy.
Hey mate, takes one to know one. Absolutely, it's.
Well, I appreciate it.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on. Everybody watching, go and check out Fast Jet Performance, Tim's channel. There's a link below. You'll all get a complimentary mug, honestly.
And some money, yeah.
But right, I'm gonna Tim, if you just want to stay on the line while I play out my outro and just click us off, and then I'll say a goodbye properly.
All right.
So much love to you, Tim. Thank you so much. Much love to all of our wonderful subscribers out there. If you could just hit the like button and maybe share this on social media, subscribe even would be great. And yeah, let's do it again. I was trying to think of some tacky cliche.
You need to get one.
Top Gun line to come out with then, but
you need to get one, yeah.
Yes.
No worries.
Well, my name's Chris Thrall. I'm a former Royal Marines Commando, and I fought my way back from chronic trauma and addiction to live, work and travel in 80 countries across all 7 continents, achieving all of my dreams and goals along the way. Now I pass my simple system on to other people, but I can only help you if you like and subscribe. So please do so, because you get one life, and if you live it right, one is enough.